The reason we're here is to look at the overwintering of these cattle. One of the key features in these environments is that cattle can't be on the land for, never work with children and animals, it says not just cows, lick you in this case. But the key point is that cattle can't be on the landscape for the whole of the winter, particularly when the soil is saturated. So they're housed in buildings such as this one, where it's easy to feed. They're fed mixtures of concentrates, silage, sometimes hay. There's straw for bedding here as well. And any of the excreta is stored in the slurry pit, which is in the background there, you can just see, which has a very large volume actually, large capacity, until it gets pretty full. Normally, sometime after the winter, in the spring, early summer, when the soil is dry enough for plants, farm machinery to access that soil, or the land rather, the slurry can be returned to the land, normally via a muck spreader, sometimes via piping or trickle systems. So the point is, there's a lot of cattle in here. Normally throughout the year they'd be on the land, but at the moment they're kept indoors. They're not likely to be out again unless we have a very dry winter until probably March, April time. But nonetheless, the byproducts, the excrement from these cattle, will be redistributed on the land. So even though they're not on the land grazing and excreting, they are going to be having an impact both on the levels of nutrients within the soil and of course the levels of nutrients that might move into our water bodies via overland flow and through our subsurface drains. One of the key issues that farmers have in housing their cattle is if they have too much livestock, their slurry pits fill up over the winter, and in isolated cases, but albeit important ones, slurry pits overflowing, causing very concentrated flows of slurry onto the landscape and into channels, leads to serious problems in water quality and deterioration of the water. In addition, silage stores, and there's a number of these silage bins around, we can maybe look at those shortly, tend to suffer from the loss of silage liquor, quite concentrated, nutrient-rich liquid, which in itself, if they're not well managed and are overtopped or overfilled, can find its way onto the fields and subsequently in rainfall runoff events into the channels. So a number of issues that relate to these livestock being indoors. Finally, the last one I would add, and we can look at the pathway of some of these drains, is these hard standings, these impermeable surfaces, are all drained because of course when it rains we can't have standing water. Those drains lead directly into the channels in a number of catchments, this one being a good example. And of course a product of that is that any manure, excreta, silage liquor, concentrated food or otherwise that's lying on the hard standing can end up getting flushed straight down the pipe and directly into the water body. So it's not even filtered via movement over the hill slopes. And of course that can lead to some quite serious